Ask you to silence your cell phone and then join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, nation, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Jen, if you could take roll, please.
Absolutely. President Roush.
Here.
Vice President McFarland.
Here.
Secretary Ringgold is here. Treasurer Lauterbach is not. Member Blasey.
Here.
Member Craig.
Here.
Member Horowitz.
Here.
Thank you. With that, we will get into our consent agenda. Item 2.1 are approval of the minutes from the August 18th, 2025 regular meeting and August 18th closed session. 2.2 are recommendations for hire as listed in the agenda packet. Item 2.3 are resignations as listed in the agenda packet. Item 2.4 are financials, approval of the payment of the school system's bills for the month of June 2025 as listed in the check registers prepared by Ms. Holderby in the total amount of $7,693,939 is recommended. The distribution of obligations by fund is included in the documentation. And then finally, item 2.5 are legal payments. Approval is requested to authorize the legal payments as listed in your agenda packet. Do I have a motion for the consent agenda, item 2.1 through 2.5?
Yes, I will move for approval of consent agenda items 2.1 through 2.5 as listed.
Support.
Motion by McFarland, support by Horowitz. Any questions or discussion on the consent agenda? All in favor of approving items 2.1 through 2.5, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Item 3.1 are Board of Education. Item 3 is Board of Education matter and presentation to the board. And the best part of the evening, as always, is the shining stars. Item 3.1.
Oh, it's on. All right. Good evening. We are thrilled to present 2 shining stars this evening. First, I will invite Maison Ellingwood to join me. Maison joined the MPS team in 2019 as a 5th grade teacher at Central Park Elementary before transitioning to kindergarten also at Central Park, which is the position she currently holds. Maison earned a bachelor's degree in education with a major in early childhood development and a master's degree in curriculum and instruction. Maison is a shining star. She was nominated by parents and colleagues, and here are some of the comments. My son absolutely adores Miss Ellingwood. He talks about what he learns in her class and looks forward to going to school each and every day. He is learning so much and is excited about it, and it makes him extremely happy. Happy kids. Maison, your positivity radiates. That's a real compliment, and brings so much creativity and joy to the team at Central Park. When you are with your students, you are patient and caring, and you're always making children feel seen and valued. You have a gift for turning lessons into fun, meaningful experiences where learning really sticks. Maison, you create a warm, calm, and nurturing classroom environment where students can thrive academically, socially, and emotionally. And your thoughtful approach supports the whole child. You are a tremendous asset to the kindergarten team, to Central Park, and to Midland Public Schools. Congratulations on being a shining star.
Thank you.
And you're welcome to go shake hands with the board. Our second shining star is Heather Frazier, who will come up here and stand by me also. All right, a few highlights. Heather's MPS journey began in 2019 when she was hired as a paraprofessional at Adams Elementary. And from there, she transitioned to an office professional at Adams and Midland High, followed by being the office professional for our athletics department at Midland High, which is the position she currently holds. And you can find her at all kinds of Midland High events. You're a chemic now.
Yes.
Heather earned her associate's degree from Delta College. You were nominated for your Shining Star by MPS colleagues, and among their comments are that you are absolutely pivotal and have been in our transition to the new athletic director at Midland High. I think you're the glue that has held things together. And it's been a great transition from Eric to Taylor, and you have been absolutely instrumental in that. You've willingly stepped into responsibilities that are maybe beyond your traditional role, and you've done that with professionalism and a positive attitude, which I know to be true. Saw her today at Victory Day, all smiles. I mean, it's hard not to smile at that event, and supporting our students there. You have amazing initiative, and it extends well beyond the Midland High office. You're a steady presence, as I said, at events, supporting students and coaches to ensure that they can perform at their best. You are truly the foundation of the athletic department, a positive force who advocates tirelessly for Midland High students, and you exemplify the proud tradition of chemic pride. You keep the athletic office running smooth. This was another nominee, another nominator who said that you keep the athletic office running smoothly and you bring dedication, calm energy, love that, and a sense of humor to help make day-to-day operations a little less stressful and a lot more fun. You have overcome challenges and continue to show up for Midland High School with courage, grace, and heart. Congratulations. And Shining Stars, you are welcome to stay. You are also welcome to go.
Congratulations, Mason and Heather. It's excellent to see. Item 3.2 on our agenda tonight is Spotlight on Excellence from Jefferson Middle School. Welcome to Shannon and her team.
Hi, good evening. I'm Shannon Blasey. I'm the proud principal of Jefferson Middle School. And tonight you're going to be hearing about this wonderful program called Power of Peers. It's a wonderful, engaging, collaborative, and positively influential program for our school culture. With that, we have an amazing team of educators, and we're going to start off the evening with Lindsay Johnson, our special education supervisor, who's going to introduce our team.
Thank you. Did I turn it off? Sorry about that. All right, so I'm really excited tonight to be able to introduce my team, our team that we have here. Our teachers took the initiative to create this program all on their own, and they've put a lot of their heart and soul into making sure that it's been effective and really impacting students. So I'd like to introduce the team that has come together. So I have Chelsea Camilleri, Amy Dene, Beth Eggleston, Paige Messick, Jen Miller, Carrie Partnan, Nick Pellegrino, Chenwei Scherzer, Carrie Schloth, and Amanda Young. In addition to that, they have come together to get awarded 2 different grants, totaling over $600. So we have Wildfire Credit Union Grant and the Jolt Credit Union Grant. And then I'd like to also say thank you for our local sponsors, which is the Quick and Reliable Printing and Wildlife Credit Union.
Sure.
Okay, I think maybe all of you are familiar with word clouds. This is a word cloud that has characteristics in it that we hope to instill into all of our POP students, or Power of Peers students. What is Power of Peers, you may be asking? It is a program that promotes a partnership between students with and without disabilities. The goal of this program is for students to make meaningful connections by sharing experiences throughout the entire school day. We really, really want students to be themselves and build relationships that extend way beyond this club and in all school activities, inside and out.
Benefits of Power of Peers with a focus on participation, dignity, and respect. Power of Peers celebrates the strengths and differences of all participants, aiming to increase communication skills, increase confidence, promote problem solving, build leadership skills, increase connections and inclusion, create a stronger community, and support gains in social opportunities, independence, and academics.
All right, the Power of Peers program, it is based on it's from the START program that's through Grand Valley, and that's the statewide autism resources and training program. It's rooted in evidence-based practices. It's to promote independence, to have lasting relationships, for students to make connections and have a sense of belonging in their school setting, and also work on those social and communication skills too that are so important for our students.
Okay, I know how much we love infographics. So this is actually from 2023 and 2024. But we have 754 schools in Michigan that are participating in some sort of a peer-to-peer program. So we're not included in this number yet, but when the new data comes out, we will be. There are 21,998 peer partners, and then 5,745 students with autism. And at Jefferson, we do not just include students with autism, we include students of all backgrounds. And then this is just a map kind of representing, again, the 23-24 numbers, but every dot is a school participating in the peer-to-peer program.
And last year was our pilot year. We had 32 students participate, and then this year we're at 42 so far, but more permission slips might trickle in.
All right, so this year, what's new in POP? We're actually partnering with the ESA group in our school, and to make it more inclusive, that we have some teachers joining us, some of their students joining us, some upcoming events. We have our first kickoff of the year in September, and we're actually having the soda parlor bus join us, so it's kind of a POP theme. We're gonna do some brick decorating and kind of put those bricks outside of Jefferson, Halloween scavenger hunt, team cooking activity that we'll be able to partner with others in our school. Gingerbread house decorating challenge. We did cookies last year at Christmas time, and that was a big hit. And then an Easter egg hunt, which was the #1 event that we did last year that students wanted us to bring back. Potential funding for POP program. We actually just did a t-shirt fundraiser this year. We did not do this last year, and a lot of staff members at Jefferson were wanting shirts or anything. So we actually just ended that last Friday, and we were able to raise $670. So that was a lot more than we expected, but the money will be able to be put to good use. We're thinking about some other restaurant nights, just potential ideas. And then another grant that we're looking into is the Bullying Prevention Initiative through the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. And they support schools that have peer-to-peer programs that aim to reduce bullying with students with disabilities.
So my name is Maya, and I'm here to talk about some quotes that some of our students have made about how Power of Peers has impacted them and how much they enjoyed it. So Power of Peers has helped make students more confident, cared about, and included. It has built a safe community.
I usually keep to myself, but Power of Peers has helped me make connections and friends. And Power of Peers helps kids get to know each other and actually hang out throughout the school day.
My name is Rachel, and some other quotes that other Power of Peers members have said are, "It helps me understand the feelings of others. Power of Peers gets people out of their comfort zone. It helped me see other people's point of view, and I made a lot of friends."
Hello, my name is Eli Wickhop, and I am in 7th grade and I have autism. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. This is my 2nd year of Power and participating in Power of Peers. Last year I was a mentee, and this year I'm a mentor. And this year I get to mentor a 6th grader. My favorite part of this program is making new friends and learning how to communicate with others. Thank you to Mrs. Young, Miss Messick, and Miss Dene for this opportunity. I am looking forward to this school year. Thank you.
And the stickers that were passed out to you were actually created by students in Mrs. Hazen's art class at Jefferson, and then a lot of our Power of Peers voted on them, on their top 4 designs. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for the presentation and all that you're doing for our students at Jefferson. I'll open the floor to any board members that have questions or comments. Eli, I have to say I'm extremely impressed. That's amazing to go from being a mentee to a mentor, and give you a lot of respect for the courage that you're bringing to the organization. So thank you. Anyone else? All set? Well, thank you for coming in, and we appreciate all the work that you're doing. You're sure you don't want to stay for the audit? Next on the agenda is item 3.3, and at the end, we will take action on the 24-25 audit report. Welcome, Allie.
Thank you, and good evening. One of my favorite parts about auditing is coming to board presentations, not to actually give the audit results, but to hear presentations like that and to hear shining examples of how wonderful your team are. So thank you for having me. Seeing and experiencing that makes the numbers mean even more, in my opinion. So we're going to go through this fiscal year's audit results for you. So first up, the whole point of having an audit is for us to give you an opinion on your financial statements. So an audit opinion is the highest level of assurance that we can give you that your financial statements have been presented fairly in accordance with the rules that you are required to follow and factoring in materiality. So I'm happy to announce that Midland Public Schools has received an unmodified or clean audit opinion for fiscal year 2025. So excellent work by your team. We're going to go over a few of the numbers here for you, starting with the balance sheet of your general fund. In looking at this, you can see that year over year, your general fund has remained relatively consistent when we take a look at what it holds in assets versus what it has as liabilities. So you ended the year with a strong cash position of about $33.6 million, which represents about 66% of total assets. And then your next most significant asset is going to be those dollars that are due from the state and for federal grants from the state, which represents about $15.4 million or 30% of total assets. So your general fund ended the year with about 51.3 million, which is down just slightly from the previous fiscal year. Your district has consistent amount of total liabilities coming in at about 13.9 million in each year. And the makeup of those liabilities, again, very consistent, and we would expect them to be as well. So that gives us a total fund balance of about 35.6 million, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in some future slides here. When we take a look at what is coming into the district for revenue versus what is outgoing, here you can see for 2025, the total revenue and other sources came in at just under 110 million, which was down some from the previous year, mostly related to federal grants. So ESSER dollars were more prevalent in the previous year. You were really spending those down, and those are not going to be reoccurring grant revenue dollars. On the expenditure side, about 111.6 million was incurred in total expenditures, and that gives us a change in fund balance of a reduction of about 1.8 million. You had started with about 37.4 million, so that gets us down to the 35.6. When we take a look at where you thought you were going to be, we compare the final budget, which anticipated using fund balance of roughly 7.6 million. You actually did better than that by only using the 1.8. Your revenues were within 1% of what you projected, and your expenditures within 5.9%. That's relatively consistent with what I see at many districts. Revenues were usually able to get closer than expenditures. Expenditures, obviously, you are not supposed to legally spend if you haven't budgeted for something, so you generally have to have expenditures a little higher to make sure that if projects do end up happening by the end of June, they're included in your budget, so you don't have a compliance issue. Here you can see the general fund revenues kind of in total and what each category looks like comparatively. So the most significant source of funding within the general fund comes through the state. That makes up about 69% or $75.5 million. Relatively consistent with the previous year as well. All of these categories really are. Your next most significant category would be your local dollars, primarily property tax revenues, which makes up about 22% of your total spending, or total revenue sources, I'm sorry. On the expenditure side, so we can look at expenditures a couple of ways. On this slide, we're looking at it as far as things like salaries and benefits, if we have purchased services. I'm sorry for those of you in the audience, you can't see, but there are numbers on the slides that they're seeing. I think it's just projecting differently maybe. So salary and benefits came in at 90.7 million, or roughly 81% of your total general fund expenditures. Again, that is in line with what we see at other public school districts, so right where we would think you would be. Your next most significant category is going to be purchase services, which comes in at about 8%. We can also take a look at general fund expenditures as far as instruction and support services, and then kind of everything else that's remaining. So you can see here the blue bars on the bar chart represent your instructional related costs for the past 5 fiscal years. Very consistent over the past 3 years. 2025 was about 65 million, which made up roughly 58% of total general fund expenditures. And then your support services were just below 40 million for the year. And again, very consistent with the past few years there. We also like to look at information on a per pupil basis. So we do this using the FTEs reported to the state of Michigan and what gets used to pay out your foundation allowance. So years where the green bar here is above the blue bar are going to be years where you're adding back to fund balance. And then this year where it crosses and revenues now are below the expenditures, you're using up some fund balance. So you'll see on a per pupil basis that revenue this year dropped down to $14,841. Again, in the previous year, this calculation was done including those ESSER federal dollars that were spent, so this decline was expected. And then on the expenditure side, per pupil, that was about $15,000, and again, continues to be trending up on the expenditure side. We'll talk about fund balance here for a minute. So when we look at fund balance, there's different categories on your balance sheet, essentially. So we have total fund balance, but then we also have an unassigned spendable portion, which for you was about $22.1 million. And then we have an assigned fund balance of about $11.6 million. So when we take our total fund balance divided by our expenditures, we get roughly 32%. If you choose to use just the unassigned portion, you get 20%. Both of those declined from the previous year because of the use of fund balance during fiscal year 2025. Another way to look at fund balance and to kind of measure the health and strength of fund balance is to think about your fund balance equivalent based on number of days. So you can either use a full calendar year or a 180-day school year. So both of those numbers are presented here for you. 117 days if we look at on a full year is sitting in fund balance, or 57 days if we're looking at just the school year number of days. And again, both of those are down slightly from the previous year due to the use of fund balance. Changing gears, we'll talk about the bond that is currently in place. So the district received bond funds as a part of the Series 3 issuance. So the blue bars here are the total amount of revenue cumulative each year within this particular bond series. So for 2025, the total incoming dollars is $9 million, and then the total expenditures thus far is about $3.2 million. So you've spent approximately 1/3 of that particular bond series. We do testing each year to make sure that you're in compliance with the bond standards, and we had no issues with compliance with the bond. All right, overall, we'll talk about internal controls and compliance. So while we're auditing the numbers, we're looking at more than simply the numbers. We're looking at your processes, your policies, making sure that you have sound internal controls, segregation of duties. And I'm really happy to report that we do not have any financial statement findings. So no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies to report to you. It's just an excellent testament to your team and how seriously they take their positions and making sure that they're providing accurate financial information for all of you to be able to make decisions with. On the federal side, so we do something separate called the single audit, which is where we're looking at federal awards. And your total expenditures there were roughly $4.6 million for the fiscal year. Within that, we have to do a risk assessment and determine what major program or programs we need to do a deeper dive in. This year, we selected the child nutrition cluster, which accounts for about $2.8 million or 61% of total federal expenditures. And I'm happy to announce that when it comes to your federal awards, we also have issued an unmodified opinion, and we have no federal award-related findings either. And with that, I want to make two comments. One, you will note that at the end of this presentation, there is kind of some boilerplate language that says that this is in draft form. Unfortunately, we are still waiting for the federal government to issue the federal compliance supplement, which means that we cannot present your final reports to you until they issue the supplement. So once that is out, we will take a look at it, make sure there is nothing else that we're required to do. We don't believe that there will be, but if there is, we'll come back and do whatever procedure the federal government thinks we need to do, and then we will be able to issue the final report. If there is any change to findings or an opinion, we will be sure that you know that, but I do not anticipate a change in either of those at this time. And with that, I really want to thank your finance team, especially Lori Holderby, who is just excellent. She's very well prepared, her and her team, for the audit. Outstanding at answering our questions and doing so by providing support. Sometimes people just give us answers, but she provides support so we can verify what she's saying is true. And they just do an amazing job, and I want to make sure that we take the time to recognize their work.
Thank you, Ally.
Yes, you're welcome.
Any questions from board members? I do want to say, again, reiterate your congratulations to Anna and Lori and the rest of the team on, what they bring to work every day is shown as a report card right here. And getting an unmodified opinion yet again is a testament to the work that you all do and the care that you, and attention that you bring to the table every day. So thank you. Because it's maybe topical at the moment, with the fund balance, 57 days of operating cash on hand, that assumes that all sources would stop, right? Not just the state.
Correct. If you had to live off just your fund balance, that would be nothing else coming in at that moment.
Got it. Are there, I hope we don't get to this point, but if we do get to this point where we have to start dipping into that fund balance because the state has not passed a budget, are there any special procedures going forward that we need to think about?
Cash flow is really going to be your main concern, so managing that really is the crux of the issue. If you don't have enough cash on hand, if you are doing projections and you think you might end up short, looking into state aid anticipation notes and working on short-term financing may be something you have to do. I know, I think it was MSBO kind of talked about that this week, that if the budget doesn't get passed, that may be something that more districts have to do here in the short term until something's passed and you get your payments.
Okay.
Phil, just to assure you and the board, we were a little ahead of MSBO's recommendation, and Anna, several weeks ago, along with Lori and our business office team, did that analysis, and we feel good about at least getting through the month of October. We really do look forward to a budget and hoping that that state aid payment in October will arrive as anticipated, but we have a plan. Our team has been very thoughtful about what will need to happen should we not.
Okay.
And I'll keep, of course, you all informed and the public informed as that unfolds.
Great. Well, thank you. With that, I'll accept the motion for the board to accept the unmodified opinion, obviously noting that we have the one pending item from the federal government, right?
Yeah, if I might just chime in. So I do agree that you all should consider action tonight, and then once we get the full and final, if there are changes, we'll revisit, as Ally noted, and you could take action again at that time if necessary.
Okay.
So is the action to approve the draft? Yes, as presented. Okay, all right.
We probably need a motion.
Yeah, do you want to make the motion?
I would be happy to make the motion to approve the draft as presented.
Support.
Motion by Ringgold, support by Lauterbach. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor of approving item 3.3 to accept the draft report, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thanks, Ally. Appreciate it.
I know our business team just got lots of accolades from Ally and from you. And so mine probably isn't as, although I see Lori in the back there. A lot of work goes into this, as you all know. We continue to be one of the earliest districts to prepare for an audit. And Lori and the team and Anna deserve a lot of credit, but I also just want to acknowledge that our entire organization prepares for this, and the work led out of the business office really prompts our buildings and every department to make sure that they have things bundled up in a timely fashion. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Penny. Item 3.4 is the debt millage presentation. So we've asked PFM, Carrie and Brody from PFM to come in and educate us a little bit further on the bond, the 2025 debt millage. So.
Yeah, if I might just cue this up for a second. Thank you for being here. There were some questions from our board members and dialogue about the current millage rate. And we really decided it would be most appropriate to bring in our experts to explain our current status, information that was listed in the bond application, and where we are now so that we can move forward with absolute clarity and confidence in what we're doing. Please feel welcome to ask questions throughout, and there'll be a period of time at the end as well.
Thanks for coming.
Well, thanks for having us. My name is Brody Killian. I'm a director with PFM Financial Advisors, and Carrie Blanchett is our managing director partner in our Ann Arbor office here in Michigan. We are the school district's municipal bond advisor and have served in that capacity for many years. And our role is as the fiduciary to the school district and their board to help them with all of their bond financing issues. So if we could jump into our deck of slides here. I guess I have the controls, don't I? So first and foremost is we wanted to just kind of lay out just a general conversation of what are some of the key considerations that we go through when going out and issuing debt as a school district and as your advisor, helping you in that process. I think it's important to recognize that the realities in financing large capital projects within the state of Michigan under our current funding formula is pretty limited. As you can see, as you looked at the audit presentation, so much of that school funding formula goes to your day-to-day operation. So when most school districts are looking at those large capital investments within their infrastructure, they're looking toward the voted bond process. And so we look we work with the district through many of these legal and financial controls that are in place. And so first and foremost, from the statutory standpoint, there are revised school code, there's the School Bond Qualification and Loan Act, as well as the revised Municipal Finance Act that we have to work through and ensure, along with your bond counsel, that we're checking all the appropriate boxes along the way in that process. When we get into the bond feasibility stage or the design stage, and in your case, the district has always gone through the Michigan School Bond Qualification and Loan Program, there's a whole nother set of systematic, I will call it oversight, and it's a multi-stage process that we have to go through in order to even have those bonds pre-qualified, so that eventually when you go to your electorate, certain boxes have been checked to ensure that that's all accurate. And so in that process, some of those key input variables where we get guidelines are from the state are your taxable value growth projections, the bond repayment schedule, and ensuring that we're repaying the assets that are being refinanced within the useful life of those assets. And then we take it a step further, as we'll talk about here shortly, with some of the financial best practices that are used to just ensure that we're meeting all of the appropriate guidelines along the way. And then when you get into the post-issuance process, so after a bond's issued, there's a whole nother set of regulations that we're required to help you maintain your accountability with. In particular, there's IRS as it relates to the investment of your bond proceeds, ensuring that there's tax compliance there. There's the financial audit component, which you just heard from your auditor regarding. And then we have an annual continuing disclosure agreement that we help you file with the MSRB, which is a way for us to ensure that the appropriate financial informations are being shared with the bondholders that are ultimately purchasing your bonds. And then, of course, as we're here tonight to talk about, is we go through a process with the school district in helping with the annual debt millage calculation. And so one of the highlights that we wanted to kind of pull out of this particular slide, as I realize I still have control, is that I think at one point there was a question regarding the financing of assets and ensuring that the principal is being paid back within the appropriate amount of time. And so the State of Michigan School Bond Loan Fund Program requires that the bonds need to be repaid within 120% of the useful life of the assets being constructed with those bond proceeds. And you'll see here on the screen, and I don't know if you guys have hard copies as well, but there's a worksheet that we're required to fill out that makes sure that when it goes through that pre-qualification process, that we are indeed meeting that useful life test. Additionally, as the municipal bond advisor, and Carrie may be able to add to this as I segue to her, is that we want to make sure that those short-term assets like the technology and equipment and buses are being paid back. As you can imagine, the useful life of those assets are 5 and 6 years. So when we put together those early projections, what we're showing often is this statistic that shows how much of the bonds are being paid back within those 6 years. And I believe the calculation for the last bond issue that you went out to the electorate was that I think there was approximately 16 million of the professional fees as well as those short-term assets that were being financed with this bond issue had it been successful. And we were actually paying over 51.7 million of bond principal back in that first 6 years of that period. So we were going beyond that to ensure that those useful life requirements were being met. So with that, I'll turn it over to Carrie Blanchett.
Thank you. Is there any questions on that part? Just before I change. That when we went back and looked at that, and I know we look at it all the time, I was confident we were going to be well above, but you really were paying that back. And we really focus on technology equipment a lot because that is really the shortest lived asset of 5 years. So that's where we focus first, and you were far exceeding that, so it wasn't a concern. But where we want to go next is just to put in front here, this is the graph of the debt millage projections that shows with the bond proposition from May, what we were projecting your debt millage would be over the life of those bonds. The green representing what we were projecting the debt millage would be to service your existing debt, and the black representing what you would need to service your new proposed bonds. And the district was very, had a goal to make sure to minimize the impact on the taxpayers and the tax bills of that proposition. So that was structured so that we were using every bit of the fund balance, like we just talked about the general fund balance, but the debt fund balance, just to make sure you are only charging the taxpayers that basic minimum that you would need. And what that would have meant is, if tax collections came in slow, you probably would have had to borrow from the general fund to do that. But it was the focus to make have the taxpayers pay as low of millage rate as possible. So you go into the 2025 year, the overall projection was a 6.2 mils if the bond were to have passed. And I we're going to sort of focus on that on this next page, to, what it would have looked like and what the portions were under that bond proposition, because we're using all of your fund balance to offset what was required on the existing debt. We were showing as an estimate on that application that what would be levied on the existing debt was 2.3 mils, and then 3.9 mils would be levied on the proposed bonds. Now, it's important to understand that when we're preparing the numbers for that ballot, we are ultra conservative, because what we don't want is we don't want you to tell the taxpayers one thing and then the numbers come in different and have to levy a higher millage rate. So we always add in a conservative buffer on the interest rates on the bonds. So we knew going into this that it was likely that you probably would have a lower interest rate should that have passed, and that fund balance probably would not have been as, you wouldn't have had to use every last penny of that fund balance. So we knew going into it that it was likely you would have a buffer. So fast forward to now, we had a number of conversations with the district administration on what would we suggest the lowest millage rate could be for the taxpayers and service your debt. Keeping what we feel is sort of that acceptable, minimum acceptable balance, and that would be 2.5 mils. Now, could you go over 2.5 mils? Yes, you could go over 2.5 mils and still be within an acceptable range, but 2.5 mils will, get you at least a small balance, so that if taxpayers pay slow, or a tax tribunal decision comes in, or there's adjustments to taxable values, which happen every single year, that you'll be able to weather that without going into the general fund to have to do an interim borrowing. This is not the year that you'd want to do that, by the way, as you talked about earlier. So is there any questions on that? I think that was the end of our presentation. So if you have any questions, we'd be more than happy to answer them.
Carrie, one question I had was, when you think about the bond, I guess I think of it like the mortgage I have on my house. And there's a minimum payment I have to meet until the mortgage maturity, just like a bond. But my mortgage doesn't step down over time.
Mm-hmm.
But school bonds typically do, and they adjust over time. Can you explain why that is, and why does the district not just keep it at the same millage rate all the time so that there's consistency and pay off the bond earlier?
We probably missed that. Thank you for asking that question. The district's only allowed to levy what it needs to pay the debt service and a reasonable retainage. So the district, as tax base grows and or debt service steps down, you are required to reduce your millage rate. Now, you're allowed to keep a reasonable retainage, and we do normally program in some step down on your debt service payments in the future, because what we know is that you will have facility needs. So the last thing we would want to do is structure your debt so that in the future, you can't afford to make the updates that are required to your facilities and have to have a big tax increase.
And we're not allowed to pay off anything in excess.
Yeah, you're not allowed to levy more tax than you need so that you can pay off debt early.
And then when you go out to sell a bond for the district, can you describe that process a little bit? Is it like a reverse auction in the marketplace, or how does that process work?
Yeah, and it's a lot different than taking out a loan for your house. There's a whole process. So you typically, you'll bring on an underwriting firm, and we prepare a marketing document, it's called an official statement. That's what has to be updated annually with the continuing disclosure. And that is put out in the market. And then the underwriter is talking to investors about your credit, in which I commend you on the wonderful financial statements, because that helps you get a lower cost of borrowing. But they're talking, and I should have volleyed this one to Brody behind me, because he has a lot of experience in that as his prior experience. But do you want to finish it, or?
Sure, I can just add a little bit to that. And that's a great question. I think fundamentally, one of the concepts that gets a little bit mixed up when you're talking about a bond versus a traditional loan. For most of us as the kind of the commercial participant in our markets, when we go to the local bank to get a loan, we need amount of money for a car note or a bank, and you take out the loan and you get an amortization structure, and you're promising to pay that back, right, over a certain amount of time. The regulations within the world of municipalities, whether you're a school district, a county, a village, township, you cannot go to the bank to take that loan out, right? It's not legal. And so in order for you guys to access that same type of capital that the traditional individual needs for a home or a car, you have to go to the bond markets. And so as Carrie was talking about related to that process is highly regulated, and it's very transparent from the standpoint that you have to prepare this document, and then you have to offer it out to, whether you do it through an investment banking firm, like you would, like with IPOs for a stock, which is a lot of people are familiar with that concept. You can hire an investment bank up front to take your bonds into the market, or you can do an auction process where you put it out on a certain date and time, and whatever investment bank or conglomerate of banks bids the lowest true interest cost, those are the ones that are awarded the bonds. But ultimately, those bonds are then placed with the different types of investors. Sometimes they're individuals, sometimes they're big institutions like mutual funds or insurance companies. But ultimately, the concept of a loan is the same as far as you are ultimately the party that's responsible to pay back those principal and interest. It's just that we refer to that as a municipal bond borrowing in the world of local governments, if that makes sense. And the other element to that is that there is no ability to necessarily repay the bonds early, but what you do have built into a bond issue is a call feature. And traditionally, bonds have a 10-year call feature. So that gives you, as a community, flexibility should interest rates drop, which they traditionally do over time. At some point in that bond's life, you would have the ability to refinance that debt once you get within 90 days of the call date. We used to be able to do that a lot. There was more flexibility before the tax reform that we could refinance bonds sooner than that, but that is one of the features that's built in that allows you to potentially lower the interest rates in the future.
To follow up on that and on Brad's earlier question, the call feature just allows you to refinance. It doesn't allow you to pay off principal early. So it's effectively a prepayment prohibition so that the bond investor gets that, at least the principal and some interest over an assured period of time.
Right.
Okay.
So the district has the right to pay it off after, generally it's 10 years. So if you had someone that gifted you $10 million, you could, I don't know why you would, but you could, use that to pay off $10 million of the bonds early. It's your option.
But what would the cost of that? Because the call feature is a disincentive.
Right, so
to do that.
Generally, if the bonds are callable 10 years or later, there's not an interest rate penalty for that. So we do have some bonds that we will sell with a shorter call period for like a non-school issue that has a different revenue stream. They may decide that they want to pay a little bit higher interest rate to get that earlier ability to redeem the bonds early and pay them down. Where for you, it's really generally refinancing. Do you want the ability to refinance the bonds? And there is benefit to that, because if you sell a 25-year bond, the interest rates in the earlier years are lower, the later years are higher. So even if interest rates don't change, you will have the ability to refinance the bonds for savings, because 10 years down the line, the 20-year bond is a 10-year maturity. So just with a passage of time, you'll get refunding opportunities. And then when you do a refinancing, you can, at that point, decide to accelerate the repayment of the bonds, because you're selling new bonds to pay off the old ones. So if you wanted to keep your millage rate, for example, at a certain level, you could with a refunding bond.
So if you use Phil's mortgage example, if you had a 15-year, let's say you had a 30-year mortgage, and after 5 years, you went and refinanced it to a 10-year amortization. You're gonna pay down principal faster, your payment might be different depending on what the interest rate is, but, so we could do that.
So you could, and we had a lot of this when rates were almost nothing.
Yeah, right.
After the 10-year period, or back, as Brody indicated, we used to be able to do it in advance of the call date. We can't do that. It's against federal tax law to do that anymore. But you could wait, let's say, if 10 years, if combination of your tax base grew really big, or you had some new big industry come in and rates were really low, you could cut off, shorten your term by 3 years or 4 years or whatever you could do. I don't think you'd want to do it over the millage rate you were levying, but.
But if we were just fat with cash.
Yep.
And we said, at 10 year, it's callable now.
Yep.
We just want to pay it off, get rid of the debt.
Yep.
We could.
You could.
We're not fat with cash. We got 57 days worth of cash. We're not fat with cash, but I got it.
So Carrie and Brody, I know we jumped right into this and you started talking about bonds. I'd like to rewind a little bit here and educate the people out here on who you are, why you're here, and what you do for us in producing this. And do you work for other districts? Do you you want to give us a commercial?
Sure. So we both work for PFM Financial Advisors. We are the largest financial advisory firm in the country. Generally, financial advisors, municipal financial advisors, assist governmental entities. We work from anywhere from higher ed institutions to the state to schools, helping them generally with their debt issuance, and also some other things that are related and some things that are not related. We are registered with the MSRB and the SEC. You have to be registered to give advice. That means you have to pass some exams. I've been doing this a very long time, well before we had to be registered. I was quite good when they finally did do the registration, because it, at least levels the playing field a little bit and makes people have to have a certain minimum level of knowledge to give this kind of advice. But we work with, I would say, probably 85% of the schools in the state. If I were to, that's my off-the-cuff estimate. Nationally, like I said, we are the top. I can't even, you probably know how many deals we do a year. A lot. Like
32 states.
Yeah, we have 32 offices, but Michigan is a pretty big practice for us. We have literally thousands of clients, anywhere from little villages to, like I said, universities in the state. And Michigan Department of Transportation is one of our clients too. So, did I miss any part of that question?
No, that's pretty good. Just wanted to educate the public on why you're here and why we're listening to this feedback and the data that you're presenting to us.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for coming. I appreciate your input. Thank you. Item 3.5 for action is the tax resolution for 2025-26. Anna.
When you set the budget back in June, it was based on the operating millage rates you will hear again this evening. Tonight's action makes those rates formal. Action this evening will allow us to send a form called the L4029 to our local governments and the state that sets the rates for this tax year. The rates we based the budget on in June and are formally establishing now include 18 mills on non-homestead properties, a hold harmless rate of 0.4016 mills on principal residences, qualifying agricultural and forest property, and industrial personal property. It's relevant to note that this rate derives all the way back to the passage of Proposal A and our ability to collect an additional $415.31 per pupil. This changed 4 years ago because of legislative reform. We now can only collect $122 per pupil. The rate fluctuates a bit annually as we are always correcting slightly based on estimations of student enrollment, the tax base, and personal property tax exemptions. This year, the rate increased 0.0017 mils versus last year. 6.4016 mils on commercial personal property, which comes from a formula that includes the typical 18 mil non-homestead assessment. Commercial personal property is exempt from the first 12 mils of that assessment, but not the hold harmless rate equaling the total 6.4016 mils. And finally, the 2.5 mils for bond debt that was passed in 2015. This rate is set annually by our financial advisors, PFM, which you just heard from, and does fluctuate slightly on an annual basis as well. This traditionally has been a roll call vote, and if approved this evening, we will have our president and treasurer sign the resolution and get the paperwork out to our local taxing agencies.
Thanks, Anna. Anna, do we need to read the whole resolution? Do you remember? I know it's a roll call.
Just do a roll call vote for it.
Sorry, Penny, what did you say? We have not. Okay. Is there a motion for item 3.5?
I will move to approve the tax resolution for 2025-26 as presented.
Motion by Scott. Motion by McFarland, support by Lauterbach. Any further discussion or questions? With that, Jen, I'll ask you to do a roll call vote.
President Roush,
Yes.
Vice President McFarland,
Yes.
Secretary Ringgold is a yes. Treasurer Lauterbach.
Yes.
Member Blasey,
Yes.
Member Craig,
Yes.
Member Horowitz.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Okay. Motion carries. Thank you. Item 2.6 is the strategic planning and facilities planning update. Couple items of note. On the strategic planning side, Penny and I met with our strategic planning consultant, I don't know, 10 days ago or so. And we kind of a kickoff meeting to solidify and outline how we wanted to make sure that we engage the public as best as possible. They are to come back to us with a solidified timeline and their specific plans to engage the community, which we will inform you about at the next meeting in October. I'm excited about the work that this firm is going to help us with, as I think it'll have new approaches to get out to our community members and engage in really important dialogue. And then on the facility planning side, Midland Public Schools did issue a request for proposal for the facility assessment and pre-bond planning and communication services. The proposal due date, which is out on our website right now, is September 23rd at 3 p.m. Administration will review and assess the received proposals, bringing forth the top proposals to study at FFO on October 6th, and the top 2 to 3 firms, as recommended by administration, would be invited to present at a full board meeting, where the board could take action on awarding the project. Tentatively, as I said, we're planning to have administration study at FFO on 10/6. I think we will probably want a special Board of Education meeting on the week of the 13th of October. I'll have Sarah poll everybody on what the best dates and times are that week, and make sure that we get that posted for the public. And then probably take final award action on the 20th of October at our regularly scheduled board meeting. Any other comments or questions from the board on that? Okay. Item 4, a request to adjust the board. First up, I have Sarah Bennett. Welcome, Sarah.
Hi, my name is Sarah Bennett, and I'm a mother, 4-H leader, former 4-H'er, and business leader within the Midland community. I was also extremely blessed to have been born on the 5th generation Gerstacker farm right here in Midland County that has been owned and operated by my family for over 133 years. I am here tonight to encourage the Midland Public School District to reconsider the calendar for the 26-27 school year, as Meridian and Bullitt Creek have already done. The Midland County Fair has been held 3 weeks before Labor Day, dating back to the 1960s, when roughly 40 county fairs across the state worked together to avoid overlapping dates. This means that vendors and other events have been scheduled to prevent overlap with other counties. The fair is the single largest economic impact for the Midland Fairgrounds, drawing an average of 175 community members together each year. Holding the fair without vendors available would put the fairgrounds at risk moving forward for hosting a variety of events, some of which include over 20 horse shows, antique and music festivals, rodeos, grandstand events, and the list goes on. In Midland County, we are blessed to have 33 4-H clubs, 250 adult volunteers, and 750 youth enrolled in the program. Approximately 900 exhibitors participate at the Midland County Fair, roughly half of which are school-age youth. While agriculture may be one of the first things that comes to mind when people think about 4-H, the program encompasses so much more, some of which include expressive arts, life skills, health and fitness, leadership skills development, plant and physical science, community service, safety, food and nutrition, and veterinary sciences, just to name a few. My daughters are the 4th generation in my family to participate in 4-H at the Midland County Fair, and I genuinely believe 4-H and my experience raising projects has shaped me into the woman that I am today. At ages 7 and 11, I can already see the positive impact 4-H is having on my daughters. They are involved in community service projects and feel passionately about helping others. They have learned about Robert's Rule of Order, hold leadership positions within our club, understand the food chain and where their food comes from, and have learned more about hard work and dedication than most of their peers. For 10.5 months out of the year, my daughters get up at 6:15 to feed their steers before going to school and every evening after school, both early mornings and late nights. They're responsible for watering, working with, and cleaning their pens. They understand the nutrient requirements of their animals, the end weights they need to target to be able to market a successful project, and pick out their animals and adjust the feed throughout the year accordingly. They have to tame an animal at 500 pounds, knowing that it will be well over 1,000 pounds come fair time, and they understand the responsibility, hard work, and determination they need to put in to be able to control that animal in a public setting, which is something most grown adults wouldn't be willing to do. They understand record keeping, know the input costs of their projects, the price they need to break even, and the current market price for their species. They handwrite and hand deliver over 20 full-page letters to businesses in the community asking them to consider supporting their efforts by bidding on their projects at the auction. They learn about the importance of handshakes and looking people in the eye. You have your time. I'll get my time. Nice job.
Thank you, Sarah, for addressing the board. Courtney Varner.
All right, hi, my name is Courtney Varner. I'm here today as a parent and a 4-H volunteer. My 3 children, ages 6, 9, and 12, show horses and beef cattle. Our family is deeply rooted in 4-H and animal agriculture. I grew up in the Lapeer County 4-H program. My dad's a veterinarian, and just animals were a very large part of my life. I showed everything from crafts, rabbits, to horses and dairy cattle. Today, my husband serves as a club leader with Sarah, and he is also the livestock leader for the county fair. He grew up on a farm here in Midland County and showed beef cattle and 4-H. We both hold animal science degrees from MSU, and we own a farm in Homer Township, where our children's 4-H projects start out right from birth. They use the calves born on our farm, giving them the opportunity to compete in bred and own classes and to bring breeding stock heifers to the fair. So from selecting genetics and managing herd health, my children are involved in every step of the process. Fair week for us is like Christmas. It's busy and fun and full of excitement. We bring a horse, 2 market steers, and 2 breeding stock heifers, and they are showing every day of the week, which means my children would have to miss the first week of school to participate in the 4-H activities that they work all year to prepare for. 4-H is also a means for youth to earn money to support their educational future at a magnitude that few other programs can offer. As a volunteer, I help coordinate club activities, which include educational events, community service, craft projects, and fun outings. For example, we've toured MSU's like teaching barns. We volunteer at Tony and Trish House every year. We make holiday cards for nursing homes. These experiences instill values of service, leadership, and hard work in our children, which is why 4-H means so much to us. At every meeting, we recite the 4-H pledge to remind us of the core 4-H values. It is, I pledge my head to clearer thinking, my heart to greater loyalty, my hands to larger service, and my health to better living for my club, my community, my country, and my world. In a world where good morals often seem to be under attack, we cannot afford to make it harder for our kids to participate in organizations like 4-H. This program is shaping my kids' future like it shaped mine by helping them build a strong sense of community, responsibility, and integrity. I ask that you consider moving the start date of school so the whole community can continue to support the 4-H and the fair, and future generations can benefit the same way that we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Courtney. Sarah and Courtney, you were the 2 that listed school start date on your topic, so I just want to address a couple of things for you and let you know that, first of all, we heard you, and we're trying to figure out a couple things. One, just to give the audience a bit of background. Sarah, when you and I went to school, if you remember, we always started the school year and then would have semester break right after Christmas. So we would go to Christmas break, and then we'd come back for like somewhere between 8 and 10 days, and then immediately have to take semester exams. And then we would have this weird break off for 4 days. One of the things that we did about 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, was actually move the start date of the school year up, which allowed us to end the semester at the start of the Christmas break. We've received a ton of positive feedback from parents on that because of 2 things. One is students don't have to worry over Christmas break about studying for exams. They don't have this awkward pause 8 days after they go back to school. And it gives kids a chance to decompress and rest and recharge and spend time with family over that longer break. If we move the start date back, we got to figure out what to do with semester break, so we're trying to figure that out. And then the other thing that Penny's been doing is calling other districts in the state, because this isn't the only place where this potential conflict exists, and asking other districts how they manage when students are in 4-H and participating in the fair, and it coincides or overlaps with the first week of the semester. How do those districts handle it to address those key concerns? Well, let me just finish. So I just want to say we heard you and we're considering it. I won't make any promises. I think the other thing that I should just address is that the school calendar is a negotiation between the district and the teachers union, so we would have to talk about that with our teaching staff as well. But just know that we are considering how to address this in a multitude of different ways and make sure that we have an informed set of facts before we make any decisions one way or the other. But
was just gonna say, the Midland Fair is one of the last ones around the area, which I'm sure doesn't help, and always
Yeah.
has been.
Can I ask a question? I was gonna save my question and ask Penny, but you're here and I think you know the answer. And I don't mean this to be glib. I legitimately am asking, why can't the fair move a week earlier?
So that's what I was trying to explain. All of the fairs across the state have preset all of their vendors and the midway and everything for like the last 60 years.
But are they
Over
all the
40
same? I mean, is it like one vendor that,
Yeah, they
like-
go to different things. So if the fair
Okay.
were to move them, there's nobody available for next year.
Like, even like, one of my friends does an exotics exhibit, and he has like a schedule that he follows all summer.
They're-
And goes
they-
from fair to fair to fair.
you know that whoever those vendors are not, it cannot be the week before?
They're all pre-booked
Yeah, and
across
like,
the state.
you know, like food vendors and the midways and stuff,
They
you know,
have a
they
set
have a
schedule that they
kinda
move.
go around.
Okay, but the question has been asked of those vendors.
Yeah.
Could you move it up a week?
We asked the fair manager.
I'm in communication with Nick Hall and have requested a meeting with him, but he and I have had a conversation, and yes. And my experience with fairs from my family is the same thing. There are only so many carnival vendors, for example, and they book out multiple years, and you sign multiple-year contracts often. So
I
the
believe
fair
it's a-
can't move. It's a question of what kind of flexibility do they have within the week for some of the activities and events, and that's my inquiry to Nick.
I believe it's a 10-year contract. I believe, don't quote me on that. Nick can give you the correct answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill Domina. Welcome, Bill.
Good evening. Right after the bond vote, Member Blasey called me and said, "Bill, what would it take for you to be a yes vote?" And being an engineer, we don't answer yes, no. It's not in our nature. So I met with Member Blasey, Superintendent, and President Roush, and I presented an 8-page paper on the various issues within the bond, some of them that I suggested, which would be something I could support, other things that I am concerned about. So it was a detail that allowed me to provide input without a very small amount of information. So at this time, I wanted to ask, have the members of the board seen that 8-page paper and have they read it? If not, I would suggest that you do, because it gives you a very good perspective of what the community has concerns about, and it would be valuable to your Omnitech contractor to understand what they're going to have to negotiate with. The other thing I want to talk about is, out of that, is maintenance. Okay, it's very timely with you having these bids out. And what I'm going to ask you for is granularity. The last time with the other condition assessment, you hear, well, we got to replace this, we got to replace that. It's not good enough for me. I want to focus now, just an example with the flat roofs, okay? On the flat roofs, I don't want to know that you need to replace it. I want to know, what's the failure? Is the substrate going bad? How did the water incur? Was it because you used caulk on the vertical flashing? Was it because you didn't seal the penetrations right? Was there not a predictive preventive maintenance inspection of the penetration sealant? There's a whole bunch of new technology. And if the membranes were bad, there's ways to cover that up with new polyurethane and polyester reinforced things that are very easy to do. So I want to encourage you, in order for it to be believable to me as a member of the community, when you go through a building, I want to know granularity. I want to know a forensic audit of why it failed. What predictive preventive maintenance will you change versus reactive maintenance, which I believe is the concern of the community. So what I'm asking is, I guess I would be very interested to know what your bid package requires as far as the granularity of the report and the forensic nature of any failures that you see. So that's just my suggestion, because if you have that and you say, okay, yeah, we've done the right maintenance, it still needs a new roof, fine. But if I can't say that it's not going to happen again because you used caulk on a vertical surface versus the mastic that's now the new standards, then I've got a problem. So thank you, and I hope that it comes back as a very detailed, granular report. You know, boilers, okay, I used to do pressure design. I want to know, why would it be failed? Were the tubes, are they replaceable? Those sort of details. Brad, you understand details. So please, that's my concern. Thank you.
Anybody, that's everybody that I had on my list. Anybody else care to address the board?
Hello, Jennifer Vanette. Just listening to the audit and everything, I know you guys have been repeatedly addressed about transparency and different things, and I just like listening to this. Thank you. Thank you for all that you are doing, because an audit and that glowing audit report you just got, that says that you are doing the work. And having that third-party audit our finances, like that is being transparent. So I'm not gonna take a lot of your time. I know that there are real issues and valid issues for people to bring up, and this is one space where they do that. But I don't think you hear thank you enough, so I just wanna say thanks.
Thanks, Jennifer. Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Molly Wasik, and I'm here just to kind of as another voice for the 4-H Midland Fair aspect. And I also just want to make it sure that you guys are kind of looking forward ahead. I know we're currently talking about the 2026, 2027 year, and there's some talking going on about what we can do to make that feasible for our students in 4-H. But I also want to bring to the board's attention that it is a concern for the year of 2027, 2028. I don't know if anybody's looked that far in advance, but the proposed ESA calendar that is currently out there does conflict with the fair that year as well. So it is not just a one-year issue that we're going to be seeing. So I just want to make sure that you guys are aware of that and just realize how important it is to our community to be able to have our kids in those projects. And my kids are young enough. Right now, my daughter will actually be able to take her first project next year to be able to sell. So this is huge. So it is a big decision too, because if it conflicts, and she loves school as well as 4-H, and she loves to be able to show her animals. She's been able to do PB for the last 2 years. So just being able to have that and not have the stress of missing school and missing homework and having to make that up on top of all of the work that they do for the entire year for that week, I really want to make sure that you guys are kind of considering that for all those 4-H students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Gay. I'm a mom of 3 boys, and we have granddaughters that are in the district. None of them were in 4-H, but listening to all of this, I see there's more to education than just sitting in a classroom 5, 6, 7 days a week. I mean, what can be learned and what has been learned through 4-H is something you just can't put a price on, and really can't be taught in the classroom in short little amounts of time. This is learning all through the year. And my mom she was a kindergarten teacher, and she always said, there's more to learning than just in the schoolroom. When you go places, you talk about this, you talk about that, you take a vacation, you do this, you do that. So I am in support of the 4-H people in that program. It's a wonderful program.
Anybody else?
Hi, Anne Marie Shibley. It's my first board meeting. Pretty excited. It's exciting stuff. I am a volunteer with the Midland Neighboring Week. So hopefully you've seen our sign, you have our signs. I think there's one outside the door here. And I just wanted to let you guys know, I've been working with Dr. Joy, and she's been phenomenal. And I'm really, really excited because not only are we seeing participation from all of the schools in all sorts of different and unique ways, but this year especially, we are coming up with some ways to partner with the kids who are out at the juvenile center. So both in the front and the back. So in the back, those are kids who are in detention, but still figuring out ways that they can connect with the kind of neighbors, right, in the community and provide some artwork and do some things that they can share out, right? And so that's been really, like, it gives me goosebumps to talk about, just thinking about neighboring, but even neighboring to those who are kind of at the margins and just the creative ways that staff and students are coming together to do that work. I think it just really means a lot. It means a lot to me personally, but also, I guess, I'm a mental health professional in the community too, right? So just that idea of connection and really working to combat that epidemic of loneliness, it's just super meaningful and impactful. So, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys at all of the different events throughout Neighboring Week. Floats with Goats. I will be there for that. And then you guys are hosting something. I'm going to show up here. Hopefully, I think you'll have snacks. But anyway, I just want to let you know that you guys, your staff, your schools, the district is doing really awesome work around that. And it's exciting to see as a community member and a Woodcrest mom. So
Thank you. Last chance. Close the floor. Okay. Moving on to item number 5, admin services. Item 5.1 are admin services study committee meeting notes from September 5th.
Yes, we met on September 5th. Members present were myself, Ann Horowitz, Superintendent Miller-Nelson, and Sarah Dooley. We met here at the admin building in room 9. And the purpose of our meeting was to review the recommended policy updates included in the most recent July 25th, 2025 Through Policy Update, which includes updates to policies 4221 and 5407. The policy updates will be coming up to you next for action at our meeting tonight. And we adjourned at 10:30.
Thanks, Jen. Item 5.2 for action are the July 25th Through policy updates.
Yes, as Jen read in our meeting notes, we have for your consideration policy 4221, which is employee speech, and there was just one change to that, which acknowledges the change in policy 5407. Policy 5407 is instructional program and curriculum content, and this update really clarifies and updates our procedure for parents when there is a concern about an instructional material. And just to put a little more detail to that, there is a process. There was always a process. We've modified the process. We will continue to encourage our parents to have the first dialogue with the classroom teacher and see if they can come to an understanding about the reason that material is being used and the purpose of it and how it's being used. If the parent continues to have concern, then the principal of that building will be involved, and there's a detailed process from there.
Thanks. Do I have a motion for 4221 and 5407?
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Horowitz, supported by McFarland. Any other discussion or questions? All in favor of approving 4221 and 5407, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 6, curriculum instruction and assessment, and I believe we have study committee minutes from this as well.
The Curriculum Instruction Assessment Study Committee met on August 18th, 2025. Present was myself, standing in for Jennifer Ringgold, Brad Blasey, Mecky Craig, Ken Weaver, Penny Miller-Nelson. We also had Tricia Clancy, Jen Service, Dr. Joy, and Amanda Sherry present. We started at 1:30. Dr. Joy presented on family engagement. Tricia Clancy and Jen Service presented on K-5 literacy and our new UFLAG curriculum. Amanda Sherry presented on multi-tiered system of supports, otherwise known as MTSS, and we adjourned at 2:45 p.m.
Thank you. Item 7, finance, facilities, and operations. Item 7.1, Brad.
FFO met on September 8th. Members present were myself, Scott McFarland, Penny Miller-Nelson, Brian Bruton, and Anna Womack. Guests were present were Lori Holderby and Allie Barnes from Yo-Yo. Meeting location was here at the admin center. Meeting started at 5 o'clock. Allie Barnes discussed the audit and reviewed the 2024 audit with the committee. We also talked about a Stratix renewal. Administration will propose the renewal of Chromebook repair services with Stratix. H.H. Dow High School scoreboard. Administration will propose the purchase of a video scoreboard for H.H. Dow High School. Lawnmower bid. Administration will propose the purchase of a lawnmower. Robotics moving date. The committee discussed the timeline of the move of robotics teams into the Fast Ice Drive property. L-4029, the committee reviewed the L-4029 policy. Strategic planning, the committee discussed district strategic planning and facilities assessment. The committee discussed an assessment of district facilities. Meeting adjourned at 6 o'clock.
Thanks, Brad. Item 7.2 for action, Chromebook repair services renewal. Anna.
The administration team recommends approving a service agreement renewal with Stratix Corporation for a total of $824,461.44 for a 3-year term. This purchase will provide comprehensive repair and return services for our student Chromebooks. This renewal will ensure the continued reliability and functionality of our devices and minimize student downtime. This expenditure has been included in the technology department's annual budget and will be paid for with operating funds.
Thanks, Anna. Do I have a motion for item 7.2?
I'll move to approve item 7.2.
Support.
Motion by McFarland, support by Lauterbach. Any discussion or questions?
How long have we been using them previously, just for curiosity?
I believe that our previous term was 3 years.
3 years, okay.
I'm assuming that in coming to their number of $824,000 that they looked at historical information on approximately how many Chromebooks we've had to repair each year. I don't know all the technological terms. How bad the repairs were.
So it's based on the amount of devices that we have, and it's
Okay.
a set fee per device per year.
$24 a unit. So seems much more reasonable than replacing.
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor of approving item 7.2, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. It's actually $24 for the in and out, and then $74, but that includes the 3-year term. Right, so $100 over 3 years per unit. All right, motion carries. Item 7.3 for action, the Dow High scoreboard. Anna.
Bids were solicited and a tabulation is provided for a video scoreboard for H.H. Dow High's gymnasium. After careful review of submissions for quality, experience, local installation company partnerships, and integration into current infrastructure, administration recommends issuing a purchase order to Daktronics of Brookings, South Dakota for $134,928. This purchase will be split 50-50 with the Dow High Sports Boosters Club, and operating funds will be utilized for the district's share of this purchase.
Do I have a motion to approve item 7.3?
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Lauterbach, support by Ringgold. Any discussion or questions? Okay. All in favor of approving item 7.3, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Item 7.4, lawnmower bid. Anna.
Bids were solicited and a tabulation is provided for an Exmark 144-inch mower. Administration recommends issuing a purchase order to Hoffman's Power Equipment of Saginaw, Michigan for $68,528. Operating funds will be utilized for this purchase.
I have a motion for item 7.4.
Move to approve the expense for a lawnmower to Hoffman's Power Equipment of Saginaw.
Support.
Motion by Ringgold, support by McFarland. Any discussion or questions? Anna, does this replace something or is it just an additional?
This is to be able to have a more reliable one right now. Our current one we're using is from 2012, which we will keep as long as possible and use in other parts of the district. But it's getting harder to be able to find parts for that. So when it kind of goes, we will be without a mower.
Okay. All in favor of approving item 7.4, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Item 7.5 for action, gifts totaling $8,000. Anna.
We have a proposed grant this evening of $8,000 that will require your acceptance on behalf of the board. These funds are from the Farm Bureau Community Grant and would be used to equip student resource closets at all 4 secondary schools. Typically, we come to the board for requested approval after we have received the funds, but this grant requires board acceptance before they will release the funds to the district. We would request that you approve accepting this grant this evening.
Is there a motion to approve item 7.5?
Move to approve accepting the grant totaling $8,000 from Farm Bureau.
Support.
Motion by Ringgold, support by Lauterbach. Any discussion or questions? All in favor of approving item 7.5, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 7.6 for action, gifts totaling $27,500. Anna.
We have 2 items tonight totaling $27,500 that will require your acceptance on behalf of the board. These items are a donation from the Arthur C. Frock Endowment Fund to the district for professional development, staff appreciation, recruitment, and retention initiatives in the amount of $20,000, as well as a donation from Cheryl A. Potter to Midland High for their athletics in the amount of $7,500. We would request that you approve accepting these gifts this evening.
Thanks, Anna. Do I have a motion for item 7.6?
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Horowitz, supported by McFarland. Any further discussion or questions?
Anna, have we already allocated the $20,000 to a certain PD day or? Okay.
No, we have not.
All in favor of approving item 7.6, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 7.7 for information, gifts totaling $4,855. Anna.
The total amount of gifts listed for information only tonight is $4,855. These gifts this evening represent support for programs ranging from support for robotics at both Northeast and Dow High, career and college advising at both high schools, student supports at Carpenter Pre-Primary, and athletics at Midland High. As is tradition, all donors are going to be recognized in the credits of this evening's broadcast and also through board correspondence upon your behalf. We are grateful for our community support of our students and our programs.
Thanks, Anna. Item 8 are correspondence from the Board of Education to the following individuals and/or agencies listed in the agenda packet. Item 9 are scheduled activities for information. As scheduled activities for information as listed in the agenda packet for the following Board of Education meeting dates and times. Item 10 are study session discussion. Are there any points of clarification from any board members? So I'll turn it over to Penny.
Well, interestingly, many of our conversations tonight were part of my notes. So I'll just Phil, you at the top of our meeting thanked MCTV and our partners at the city, and I just want to reaffirm that. You know, we were in a bit of a pinch, and it's good to know that we can call on community partners to step in and help us out. So big thanks there. We talked about the fair, so I'll just reaffirm that we are working to gather data. We've had a request into the 4-H office for multiple weeks now, and I know they're going to gather information to share with us about the number of students involved, and you articulated how we want to make a good decision for all of our students, and we will continue to keep folks informed as that progresses. State data, our state assessment data is public, and I understand there was an article in the Midland Daily News today. We have our data, we shared the highlights with Midland Daily in a press release, and I'll just share some of those now. We're really proud that our students scored above state average in all subject areas, as we typically do. More than 70% of our students had average or above average growth in 2025 in all subject areas, as compared to their academic peers across the state. In English language arts, science, and social studies, our trend continues upward in all grade levels, and that's since 2022. We know we have some work to do in math, and Ken is going to dazzle us in a future board meeting with a data presentation. And you're going to see our points of pride, and you're going to see the areas where we're still working hard to understand what's happening and have improvement in those areas. I think one of the most noteworthy elements of our complete data set is that it continues to be true that the longer you stay here at Midland Public Schools and reach that 11th grade sort of summative SAT assessment, it just keeps getting better and better for you, and we continue to perform very well when compared to our state peers. So please look forward to that data presentation, and our curriculum study committee will get a much more expanded version, and we'll dig into that at the next CIA committee meeting. The data is available on My School Data, which is a public website that anyone can have access to. It's fairly intuitive. And again, we will post our presentation after the board meeting. If you didn't have a chance to make it to Victory Day today over at Midland High, Jen, you were there. It is one of my top 10 favorite events that we have here in Midland Public Schools. It's good for everyone who's there. You can't help but feel good about how our chemics really include everyone in that experience, and it was just joyful. And again, media outlets were there, so I'm sure we'll be seeing some photos and stories across media outlets. And our own Katie Geyer was there taking photos, action shots on the field. We heard about Neighboring Week, so I won't go into significant detail, but we are excited to welcome our neighbors here on September 30th from 2 to 4. We'll make sure that you have that flyer and you're welcome to stop by. I think one of the really cool things this year is we have just cast the idea out to our schools, and they're all picking up and putting their own spin on Neighboring Week. Plymouth and Northeast are thinking about how they're neighbors. Even within a school, they're thinking about how they're neighbors to one another, locker neighbors, for example. There's just going to be a lot of really good things happening that week. And just as a reminder, the genesis of it really is about creating a sense of belonging with your neighbors. So I hope you all reach out to your neighbors in your neighborhood and celebrate. I think that's it. School year is well underway. People are really in routine. We had a great classroom visit today, thanks to Ken and his team as part of our curriculum study committee meeting, and just really looking forward to getting out into classrooms now that people have their routines down, and it's going to be a great school year.
Can I add something real quick about My School Data? So I had someone reach out to me asking, where do I find the data? How do I and they had gone directly to My School Data, and it gets kind of confusing and you can get really into the weeds. But if you go directly to Midland Public Schools or midlandps.org, it's a pop-up that pops right up. And if you click on that My School Data, it takes you directly to Midland Public Schools data. So it's really easy to find directly from our website. So, yeah.
I will remind parents that the most important data, though, is the data of your specific child, right? And we get those NWEA results 3 times a year, and it's a perfect opportunity to have a conversation with your students' teachers or teacher about what you can be doing to help at home to make sure that they're thriving in the classroom. So, all right. We have one agenda item left, which was go into closed session regarding a legal counsel matter. So we will vote to go into closed session and then come out for adjournment. You're welcome to stay out in the hall, but all we're going to do is come back and adjourn. So item number 11, can I have a motion, please?
Move to move into closed session for consultant with legal counsel regarding pending litigation as permitted under MCL 15.268, Section 8E.
Support.
Motion by Ringgold, support by Horowitz, and this does require a roll call vote. Jen?
Yes. President Roush.
Yes.
Vice President McFarland.
Yes.
Secretary Ringgold is a yes. Treasurer Lauterbach.
Yes.
Member Blasey.
Yes.
Member Craig.
Yes.
Member Horowitz.
Yes.
Unanimous. We are in.
We are now moving into closed session. All right, we are now back in open session. Coming out of open session, coming out of closed session into open session. Thank you. John?
Move that the Board of Education authorize our council to proceed with the legal strategy that was recommended in our privileged communication.
Support.
Motion by Lauterbach, support by McFarland. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Finally, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Horowitz, support by Ringgold. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Now adjourned.